This is the River Clyde in Glasgow, Scotland. This statue is dedicated to the Scottish volunteers who fought in the Spanish Civil War. But what was the Spanish Civil War? And why did hundreds of Scots risk their lives to fight in Spain? In the 1930s, global tensions were rising. As fascism gained ground in Europe, with Mussolini in Italy and Hitler in Germany, Spain's political landscape experienced a major transformation. The monarchy and the dictatorship that had long held power were overthrown in 1931, replaced by a democratically elected left-wing republic. This transition marked a turning point in Spanish history, but it also ushered in an era of intense political conflict. While progressive, this government faced immense challenges. The country was deeply divided. On one side stood the traditional elites, wealthy landowners, the influential Catholic Church, and the conservative military. On the other side were the working class, peasants, and intellectuals who desired a fairer society. The Republican government implemented ambitious social and economic changes, including fairer distribution of land, reducing the influence of the church, and improving workers' rights. These measures, while welcomed by many, were deeply troubling to the powerful and wealthy elites. As tensions escalated, political violence became increasingly common, and the country was on the brink of chaos. In this volatile atmosphere, General Francisco Franco, a conservative military officer, saw an opportunity. Backed by right-wing factions and elements of the military, he launched a military uprising in July 1936, aiming to overthrow the Republic. This marked the beginning of a brutal civil war that would last 3 long years. The conflict quickly drew international attention and involvement. Franco's forces received crucial support from fascist Italy and Nazi Germany, while the Republican government garnered backing from the Soviet Union. Many Western democracies, including Britain and France, adopted a policy of non-intervention, fearing that direct involvement could spark a wider European conflict. This policy, however, was seen by many as tacit support for Franco, as it denied the legitimate Republican government access to arms and resources. Franco's well-planned military uprising began on July 17, 1936, in garrison towns throughout Spain. By July 21st, the rebels had achieved control in Spanish Morocco, the Canary Islands, the Balearic Islands, and northern areas of Spain. As Franco's forces advanced, the Republican government called for international assistance. Despite the reluctance of many Western governments to intervene, 35,000 individuals from 50 different countries answered the call, including many from Glasgow. Scotland's response was particularly remarkable. Their motivations were complex and deeply rooted in the socio-political climate of 1930s Scotland. The Great Depression had hit Scotland hard, leading to widespread unemployment and poverty. This fueled a surge in left-wing politics and a fervent opposition to fascism both at home and abroad. Many Scots saw the fight against Franco in Spain as directly connected to their own struggles against poverty and oppression. In Glasgow, the call to arms was heard loud and clear. The city became a hotbed of activism, fundraising, and awareness-raising efforts, demonstrating a collective commitment to the Republican cause. Numerous organizations and committees, often with close ties to labor unions and left-wing political groups, sprang up to support the Spanish Republic. They organized rallies, marches, and public meetings, galvanizing public opinion and mobilizing resources. Glasgow's working-class communities, with their strong traditions of solidarity and social justice, were at the forefront of these efforts. The city's shipyards, factories, and neighborhoods became hubs of fundraising activities, with workers donating a portion of their wages to support the Republican cause. This financial aid was crucial in providing medical supplies, food, and other essential resources to the beleaguered Spanish Republic. Despite the risks, around 500 Scots, many from working-class backgrounds, volunteered to fight in the international brigades. In December 1936, hundreds of men boarded double-decker buses in Glasgow's George Square and headed off to Spain to fight for the Republican cause. Among these brave souls was James Maley, a 28-year-old political activist from the Calton area of Glasgow. Maley's story provides a window into the motivations and experiences of these volunteers. Born into a working-class family of 9 children, Maley's political consciousness was shaped by the radical leftism of Glasgow's East End. He had witnessed the Bloody Friday clashes in George Square, where thousands of striking workers clashed with police, and he was a regular at political speeches in Glasgow Green. The journey to Spain was perilous. The volunteers traveled through London, Paris, and the Pyrenees before reaching Albacete in Spain, where they underwent 6 weeks of training. Many, like Maley, had never held a real rifle. As Maley described it, it was like running out of a tenement into a pitched battle. Despite their lack of military experience, these men were driven by a profound belief in social justice, workers' rights, and anti-fascism, ideals deeply ingrained in Glasgow's industrial and political landscape. Their commitment was about to be tested in the harshest way. In February 1937, the valleys of Jarama became a brutal battleground. Thousands of volunteers were thrust into the conflict. The ensuing clash was a bloodbath. In a matter of days, nearly half the battalion died, with 65 of the fallen hailing from Glasgow. James Maley, a survivor, described the scene with haunting simplicity, a mass of effing hell. Many volunteers lacked military training, and the conditions they faced upon arrival were harrowing. Yet, their determination never wavered. Glaswegians played key roles not only on the battlefield, but also in communication and propaganda, spreading the Republican cause far and wide. Among the brave individuals in Spain was a determined, fearless woman named Ethel MacDonald. Born in Bellshill, Lanarkshire in 1909, Ethel grew up in a working-class family and became involved in left-wing politics at a young age. She joined the Anti-Parliamentary Communist Federation, APCF, in Glasgow and became a prominent anarchist activist. In October 1936, Ethel traveled to Barcelona to support the anarchist cause. Unlike many volunteers who fought on the front lines, Ethel's battlefield was the airwaves. She worked as an English-language propagandist for the CNT-FAI anarchist organizations and gained fame as a broadcaster for the anarchist radio station in Barcelona. Her broadcasts, heard internationally, including back in Glasgow, earned her the name the Scottish Scarlet Pimpernel, a reference to the fictional hero who rescued people from danger in the French Revolution. As the war progressed, many foreign volunteers, including those from Glasgow, found themselves in increasing danger. This danger came from 2 main sources: the advancing fascist forces led by Franco, which threatened all those fighting for the Republican cause, and the infighting within the leftist groups, which led to persecution of certain factions, particularly anarchists and members of certain socialist groups. Recognizing the peril faced by these individuals, Ethel MacDonald took on a crucial and dangerous role. She became known for helping the foreign volunteers escape Spain during this tumultuous period. Her efforts were vital in saving lives and preserving the spirit of international solidarity that had brought these volunteers to Spain in the first place. Ethel's work was fraught with risk. Eventually, her activities led to her arrest and imprisonment. However, true to her reputation as the Scots Scarlet Pimpernel, she managed to escape and made her way back to Scotland. Ethel MacDonald's story is just one of many that highlight the diverse ways in which Scots contributed to the Spanish Civil War. For example, a wealthy Glasgow businessman named Sir Daniel Macaulay Stevenson set up an organization known as the Scottish Ambulance Unit. The unit's primary goal was to deliver medical supplies, food, and other essential resources to those affected by the conflict, regardless of their political affiliation. It consisted of medical personnel, drivers, and other support staff who volunteered their time and skills to help those in need. The unit operated ambulances and mobile clinics, transporting the wounded and providing medical care in areas severely affected by the war. Fernanda Jacobson, a nurse, served as the commandant of the unit and led multiple convoys into Spain throughout the war. The Scottish Ambulance Unit provided crucial aid to thousands of people during the Spanish Civil War. Among the many figures who inspired the volunteers in Spain was Dolores Ibarruri, better known as La Pasionaria, which means the passion flower. She was a fierce and passionate politician and orator. She became one of the most iconic leaders of the Spanish Republic. Her famous words, "It is better to die on your feet than to live on your knees," became a rallying cry for the anti-fascist cause. Another of her motivating quotes was, "No pasarán," which means, "They shall not pass." In 1980, the people of Glasgow honored the memory of those who fought in Spain with the La Pasionaria statue. Located on the banks of the River Clyde, this monument serves as a powerful reminder of Glasgow's connection to the Spanish Civil War and the city's long-standing commitment to the fight against fascism. The statue's inscription reads, "Better to die on your feet than live forever on your knees," echoing La Pasionaria's defiant spirit. Each year, a ceremony is held at the statue to remember the international volunteers, ensuring that the memory of their sacrifice lives on. Despite the bravery and determination of the Republican forces and their international allies, the Spanish Civil War ended in tragedy for those who fought against fascism. By early 1939, after nearly 3 years of brutal warfare, the nationalists, under Franco's leadership, had gained the upper hand. In March 1939, Madrid, the Republican stronghold, fell to Franco's forces. This marked the end of the Spanish Civil War. Franco established a dictatorship that would last until his death in 1975, ushering in a period of severe repression and persecution for those who had supported the Republic. After the war, Dolores Ibarruri, La Pasionaria, went into exile, spending most of her time in the Soviet Union. She remained active in the Communist Party and continued to speak out against fascism and oppression. She returned to Spain in 1977 after the death of Franco and was elected to the Spanish Parliament. The defeat of the Republic was a devastating blow to those who had fought for its survival. Returning to Scotland, many volunteers faced indifference or even hostility from a government that had officially recognized Franco's regime. Some veterans were even blacklisted from employment due to their involvement in the war. Despite this, the Scottish volunteers never regretted their decision to fight in Spain. They saw their struggle as part of a larger fight against fascism, a fight that would tragically continue with the outbreak of World War II just months after the Spanish Civil War ended. But their efforts were not in vain. They had stood up against the rising tide of fascism at a time when many others chose to remain silent. So there it is. The La Pasionaria statue in Glasgow commemorates the Scottish volunteers who fought against fascism in the Spanish Civil War. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you want to see more.
In the land of Lux and Highland Green, where men with fear are rarely seen, so Scottish folk with love and reason went to Spain to fight for freedom. No passing on, the Scots declare, for liberty we'll do our share. With Spanish friends we'll go and fight for freedom's cause and what is right. Franco's forces marched with might. Scots and Spaniards stood to fight against fascist evil, their courage soared. They battled hard but lost the war. No passing on, the Scots declare, for liberty we'll do our share. With Spanish friends we'll go and fight for freedom's cause and what is right. They came back home in disarray, and little praise was sent their way. But forevermore we'll proudly shout, no passer on, get fascist out. No passer on, the Scots declare, for liberty we'll do our share. With Spanish friends we'll go and fight for freedom's cause and what is right.